Well, good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Richard Cruz, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Commander Emi Onyiki. We're honoured to acknowledge the international naval delegation that are joining us for this evening's ceremony. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From Western Australia, St Mark's Anglican Community School, Hillary's, and from New South Wales, Samuel Gilbert Public School, Castle Hill. Could I ask you all to please stand and join in singing the National Anthem? Students, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private David Henry Findlay. David Findlay was born in 1889 to William and Catherine Findlay of Echuca, Victoria. He grew up to work as a grocer at a federal store in High Street, Echuca. He played the tenor trombone for the federal band for a number of years and was regarded as a promising musician. He also volunteered as assistant curator of the borough of Echuca and was a well-known figure in the district. Findlay spent a number of years serving with the cadets and distinguished himself as a good rifle shot in local competitions. He enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force in September 1914 and left Australia with the 2nd Contingent in December 1914. Posted to the 14th Battalion, he continued his training in Egypt for some weeks before leaving for Turkey. At 9:30 a.m. on the morning of the 25th of April 1915, the 14th Battalion left Lemnos Harbour for Gallipoli on board the troop ship Siang Chun. It arrived off the peninsula around 5 p.m. and was met by boats carrying wounded. Many men from the 14th worked to bring the wounded on board throughout the night. The 14th Battalion finally disembarked at 11:15 a.m. on the 26th of April and bivouacked on the beach while awaiting orders. The following day, they moved inland under heavy shrapnel fire. Private Findlay and his mate, Private Duxbury, made it up to the front line together and tried to dig in. Duxbury later recalled, "We could only dig enough trench to lie down in, about 6 inches deep. We were drawing too much fire. We were in the trench for about 5 hours, firing to the Turks like blazes." Finally, Private Duxbury felt a sharp pain in his shoulder and realized he had been hit. He later wrote, "I turned my head round to see Dave and asked him was he hit, and he never spoke. I lifted up his cap and he had 3 bullet holes in his head, 2 just above his right ear and 1 behind it, so he was killed outright. I felt that very much. Only the minute before, he had been cracking jokes with me. The next, he was dead." Private David Findlay was buried at the base of Queen's Post in the days that followed. His grave was later lost, and today he's commemorated on a special memorial in Queen's Post Cemetery at Anzac. He was 26 years old. His name is listed on the roll of honor on my right among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside a pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private David Henry Findlay, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.